Good morning, everyone. It's Sarah. Are you ready for Coffee and Crochet with Sarah? Well, we've got a little bit of an interesting phenomenon going on today. I've been doing a little experimenting with a green screen, so I've got some fun, maybe even some silly things coming. But my settings today, I've been unable to change them, and so you're going to see a little bit of greenness, like maybe in the shoulders of my shirt or maybe some of the green yarns, and you'll notice it also through the video. Don't worry about it. It's just me being silly and unable to work with my broadcasting program, trying to figure out why things are turning green. But like I said, we've been experimenting with a green screen, and I've got some really fun and interesting things coming. And I see a lot of you are already clinking in. I see Stacy and Karen and Rita, Caitlin and Melissa, Tina and Kim, Dawn and Tammy, Jana, Aurora, Paula. Let me move this down. Carol, Marlene, and Julie, Kimberly, Talana, and Teresa, Alicia, Sinead. I got it right this time. I love that name. Karen, Cynthia, Mary. And so anyway, those of you who are just clinking in, you'll notice there are some green shadows. It's something that we're working with. Don't you worry about it. We're still going to have a good time today. Well, today is our first Tuesday in September, and that means it's giveaway day. Now, the way our giveaways work is the first Tuesday of every month, I tell you what the giveaway is, and I tell you about it. And then you have 2 weeks to comment on the Facebook chat or the YouTube video. You can comment both places. We put all the comments in that random generator, and whosever name comes up is the name who will be announced on, let's see, September, I almost said August 17th, okay? So you have 2 weeks to comment. All right, I'm going to do, first of all, we're going to do our clink in. I always forget till it's later in the video, don't I? All right, now I got this new mug. It says, with enough caffeine, I could rule the world. I think that's kind of true. Everybody clink in. Clinkety clink, clink, clink. And remember, you don't have to love coffee to be a part of Coffee and Crochet. You can be drinking a glass of iced tea for all I care. I'm just glad you're here. All right, now, for those of you who don't know, we do the live video over on the Posh Pooch Designs Facebook page, 9:30 a.m. Mountain Time. And you'll need to find out when that time is in your area. And another thing to remember, you don't have to have a Facebook account to watch a live video. You can just Google it, Posh Pooch Designs, and it'll come up and you can click on it. If you're on Facebook, the little live button pops up and you can just click right on that. Alrighty, and if you don't have time to watch it now, I'll shoot it over to YouTube with a few little tweaks and you can watch it later. That's the beauty of YouTube. All right, are you ready to find out what the giveaway is? I know I'm excited about this one. I'm going to click my other camera here. And these were donated from a friend of mine who works at Hobby Lobby. And she donated these 3 luxury hooks and this keychain. And I have one of these. And I have it hooked on one of my project bags. It's a G or 4 millimeter. An I guess those are out of order. It should be GHI. There we go. And so we have a G that's a 4 millimeter. We have an H that's a 5 millimeter. And then we have an I, which is a 5.5 millimeter. This one's grape, papaya, and teal. And these are supposed to be good for your hands if you have like arthritis or something. I don't care for the thicker hooks because I have short, fat fingers. But they are wonderful to work with. They're plastic and the yarn just slides really nicely on them. And then, of course, the keychain. It's a crochet hook going through a sparkly. I don't know if you can see that. Let me lift that up. See how sparkly that is? It's catching the light on my camera. So this is our giveaway. You have 2 weeks to comment. And just so you know, you really only need to comment once, or you can comment on both places because all the names are only put in one time, okay? Just to clarify that. So that's our giveaway. I'll talk more about it at the end of the video just to remind you. All right. Now, we have an interesting subject we wanted to talk about today. I'm going to move these crochet hooks over here out of the way, and I'm going to bring this down. We're going to go back to our upper camera. And I had a question, or probably 10 or 15 of them, about beginning chains. Okay, and one of the questions was, why is my chain always loose? Or why is my chain always tight? And when I go to put 2 ends together, like this one, here's just a Christmas headband that I whipped up. I go to put my ends together, my stitch counts are right, but they're not the same. All right, and so what happens sometimes is we stitch too tightly on our first row or on our beginning chain. All right, something that you can do, I've got 2 more hooks in here. If your pattern calls for an H hook, let me get that ball in there so it doesn't roll all over. If your pattern calls for an H hook and you're going to be joining the 2 ends together or whatever you're making, and you stitch that beginning chain too tightly, it's going to pucker in and then it's going to go out when you do your stitches. So what you can do is, if it calls for an H, grab your next hook up, which is an I, and stitch that beginning chain with your I hook. That'll loosen your stitches up just a little bit so it doesn't do that flare out thing. All right, because that's what happens if your beginning chain is too tightly. Then you stitch that next stitch and it flares out. And some people can have a tendency to even stitch that first that first row of stitches too tightly, and it happens especially if you're doing a single crochet. Okay, and so like I said, you can go up to the next hook size. If your pattern calls for an H, just do your beginning chain in an I, and then go back to your H for the rest of your project. All right, now, the other thing is, if you're one who stitches too loosely and you've got loopy, gaping chains, and then you go to stitch your first row and you've got these loops that hang down here, that just means that your tension's a little bit loose. And so what you can do is, if it calls for an H, you can go down to a G, which is a little smaller, and stitch that beginning chain with your G, and then switch back to your H for your project. And if you're not sure if you do that, just stitch a row. Like here, I've just got some chains, and then see how tightly you stitch a row of single crochets in there. And if you're stitching too tightly, it's going to, your next row is going to flare out. If you're stitching too loosely, it might flare in a little bit, and you'll notice those loopy chains. And so that's how you can fix that, especially on projects like cowls that you're going to join the 2 ends to, like I showed you on this one. This is, like I said, just a headband I whipped up. And if I would have done this, the beginning chain too tightly, it would flare out at the top and make it difficult for me to match up my ends. If I stitched it too loosely, it would be too big, and again, difficult to match up my ends. Even though your stitch count might be right, your chains might be too loose or too big. And the best way to fix that is to go up or down a chain size, goodness gracious, a hook size, to alleviate that problem. And I do that a lot. I have a tendency to stitch my initial chain a little bit loose, and most people have a tendency to stitch it a little bit tight. But I get this question a lot, especially if I just put out a new pattern like a headband or a cowl or something where we're going to be joining those ends. And it can be a little bit frustrating. You're looking at that and you're saying, I did 12 stitches and I've got 12 stitches here and they're not matching up. And you've put all this beautiful work into something. And so you might just go ahead, chain, take a look at it, and then do your stitches and see if you stitch too tightly or if you stitch too loosely. And this sort of adjusts that by going up or down a hook size. And I wanted to cover that question because, like I said, I get it often. And one thing I want you to do is I want you to enjoy crocheting. If you're constantly getting frustrated, it doesn't make it enjoyful. It doesn't make it joyful or an enjoyment. I'm trying to mix my words together today. All right, so that's the question that I wanted to answer. And there's one other thing I wanted to talk to you about, and that is usually I do a fall and a Christmas crochet along. This year I decided to do a winter crochet along because everybody is super duper busy this time of year. The kids are back in school. You're thinking about Halloween, Thanksgiving, all the holidays in December, and there's just so much going on, programs, get-togethers, you know, church concerts, school concerts, and so it's really hard to fit in two separate crochet alongs. And so what we're going to do, it's going to start October 7th. And it's just going to be, I believe it's going to go Monday to Monday this time. And basically what it's going to be is there's going to be two projects that go together. But I'm not telling you what it is just yet because it's not going to be a mystery. We're just retesting to make sure it's going to work the way we want it to work. And so it will be October 7th and it will run for, let's see, it'll be Monday to Monday, and then there won't be anything over the weekend. So it'll be like Monday to Friday, and then we'll finish up on that next Monday and put everything together. All right, so keep that in mind. It's the winter crochet along. It's going to start October 7th. Don't worry, I'll give you all the information, all the yarns you'll need, everything, supplies and all that you'll need ahead of time, okay? All right, I just saw this jump, so I want to bring this down. See, boy, we got a lot of people clinking in. I love it, and I love seeing all those names. There's Tina and Teresa and Cindy and Rachel, Mary. Let's see if there's any. Vicky says she's never tried those hooks, but she has arthritis. I do too. I have arthritis in my fingers, and I have short, fat fingers. My favorite hooks are still, see if I've got one over here. They're by Tulip. Well, I don't have one over here. Oh, there it is. These are my favorite hooks because I have short, fat fingers, and I love that it has this little thing right there. It's like a little rubber section that's like it won't let you slip. And everything is true to size. They're very uniform. And, you know, one thing that we found recently is that, I think it's boy. Yes, the boy hooks have changed their sizes, and you have to be careful if you get a pattern that calls for an I, because some boy hooks are 5.25 and some are 5.50. It's a little tiny bit. It's not going to make a bit of difference, but you might have to adjust your tension a little bit in the pattern. And of course we have to do that anyway because not everybody crochets the same. We all crochet differently. All righty, are you ready to see what happened this week at Posh Pooch Designs for Patterns? We really had a lot of fun stuff going on. And one of the first things that I'm going to show you is that we updated our pumpkin mug cozy and coaster. It's a coaster and a cozy in one. And it's perfect for fireside chats with cider or sitting around with a hot cup of coffee or cocoa. And I made them in several colors, different shades of orange. And it's a pattern that I had out there. We updated the pattern. We put a bunch more pictures on the blog. And then, of course, we updated the video. And it's super fun. And this also fits your 16-ounce jars like this. It also fits this size. Okay. So, and also, you don't even have to worry about closing this up if you're going to put it on a jar because it has the button. So, and that's the hole for the ear of the cup. So, super fun. We did that one. The other thing we did, which I am just super excited about this pattern to show you. We updated, redid, added a bunch more pictures and information on our pumpkins. You'll notice they have a little bit of a green tint, and that's because of, remember I told you at the beginning, we've been testing out a green screen, and so I've got my my colors not quite right, but it's okay. You can still see what's going on here. We have 3 sizes of pumpkins. And then I did this one, this great big one. It's 40 inches around. I did it with burlap blanket. And I showed you how you can put a stick in a bow, or you can add a curl and a stem. This one, let's see, this one you can see better. So there's lots of options. I did them in some non-traditional colors. This is a light teal, and I did it in this color because a lot of people like to have pumpkins sitting out that says that they have children with food needs or food allergies candy that they can have. Like if they're allergic to peanuts or things like that, or milk products, they'll have some candy if you're trick-or-treating. Around my town, kids just don't really trick-or-treat. They have so many things downtown for the kids to do, their trunk or treat and stuff. So that we don't get any trick-or-treaters hardly at all. But it is nice to know that if you do, you're prepared. But this is super fun. And what I'm going to do, I want you to see this better. I'm going to click to this other camera and show you some of these colors better. See, there's the teal. There's the pumpkin. There's the purple one. You know, lots of colors and options. Small, medium, large, and then super large. And the pattern is super easy. I mean, you don't have to do any fancy stitches. Just pick some colors that you like. And then you use your strings to make those edges so that it looks like a pumpkin. This one we got a stick, and I just went out in my yard and just picked up some sticks from one of my trees, and I cut the edges at an angle. I jabbed it down in that hole in the top. You can add a little glue if you want to, but it's really not necessary. It's not going anywhere. Added some bows, and then of course the other ones have the curl and the stem. So it's lots of options, choose colors. And the thing is, you can use variegated yarns, you can do striping, you can do whatever you want and put your own, like I always say, think outside the pattern and put your own spin on it. And you'll come up with some wonderful, wonderful things. And I love it when people do that, by the way. So that was the other thing that we did that I'm super excited about. These are going to go down in my entryway when I'm done. I'm going to throw them back in the basket so I don't forget to take them downstairs. All right, because my yarn studio is upstairs next to my bedroom. So I want to make sure I remember to take them downstairs. The other thing we did is we did a quick little video just for something fun for Labor Day. And what we did is we made this, and this was something we just updated. And you can take a cup, that maybe one that you just have laying around, and you crochet a doily like this, and the pattern's there for you. And then you just slip it on a cup, tie a bow, and you put a ball of yarn down in the bottom. And what that does is when you're poking your knitting needles and crochet hooks, it's got someplace to go. So it's not clanging around the bottom of the cup. And you can do this with your scraps. They don't even have to match. It's just something to have to put your knitting needles, crochet hook, pair of scissors, pen. I always have a red, black, and blue pen with me to mark patterns when I'm testing. You can put your crochet hooks, your knitting needles, and it's a great way to reuse a cup that you have on hand. And you can also do that with your, let me grab this, with your jars as well. This is one, I took it apart so that you could see the doily that's made. But I put this on here, tied a knot, and put the yarn ball inside, and now I've got a place for my hooks to go. Okay, so you can make this doily. It's 6 inches across. It's super cute, super easy. And I got a dog here on my lip. Silly dogs. I kept feeling something tickling me. Anywho, you can make this doily. It's about 6 inches across. You can use it as a doily, or I'm sorry, a coaster. It's a coaster, but you can use it as a doily, and it'll fit like just about any cup. And then you can, if you've got a cup maybe you've lost the lid to or something, make it into a keeper for your crochet hooks, your scissors, your pins. And they make great gifts for people who are crafty, because I don't know if you're like me, but I love it when somebody gives me something that they made. And especially if they took something that might have just been thrown away that isn't used anymore. This cup here got a little melted spot in the microwave. And I thought, this is super cute. It's like the Shopkins. And I thought, this is super cute. I don't want to throw that away. And so I just made, you know, the holder for it. And one of these sits downstairs by my computer downstairs, and one of them stays up here. And I'm all set to go. So, anywho, that's what we did this week. Now, I also put out a crochet pattern collection roundup. And I stuck it on the blog. It's just a bunch of stuffed pumpkins that all my friends in the crochet world designed. And so you can kind of see some other ones if you like to do them. And that's on the blog if you want to see. It's just a free collection of stuffed pumpkins of all different colors, sizes, and fibers of yarn. They're all crochet. So, all right, so that's everything I want to talk about today. I know it's a lot of information, but before we go, I want to once again remind you about our giveaway. We're giving away 3 crochet hooks, a G, H, and I of these luxury hooks, and I think they run about $6 a piece, maybe $5 a piece at Hobby Lobby. I haven't looked for them lately, so I don't know exactly. And then also, there we go, this cute keychain. So you're going to get all 4 of these in our giveaway if your name is drawn. And just a reminder, I'm telling you about it today, and you have 2 weeks. Well, there it went. Well, I'll pick it up when we're done. You have 2 weeks to comment. Everybody who comments is entered. Comment on the Facebook chat. Comment on the YouTube video. You're all entered in 2 weeks on September 17th. Want to look at my date? That's our Tuesday video in 2 weeks, and we'll give the winner's name out to you. And then you can email me, and we'll talk about that later, how we get in touch. All right? So, it's been a little bit of a crazy morning, hasn't it? Well, I'm a little bit on the silly and crazy side anyway, so that's okay. You have to learn to roll with the punches. That's just the way it is. I've always been taught that. All right? So, I'm super glad you're all here today. And as I always say, thank you, because I can't do this without you. Have a great week, everybody. Bye-bye now.